From the banks of Dewey Lake, it's the Dewey Pod Monster.
All right, welcome back. My name is John, and this is the Dewey Pod Monster Podcast. This is your weekly podcast about consumption. We are, of course, proud members of the You Run Podcast Network. You can find all of our old episodes, all of our upcoming episodes, and all the other amazing shows on the You Run Podcast Network at yourunpodcast.com. With me this week, I have two amazing hosts with me. Of course, I have Sean from the Dewey Pod Monster Podcast. He's the host of this show. Sean, how are you doing this evening?
John, is it true what they say about bodybuilders?
Absolutely. Teeny tiny.
Yeah.
And we have a guest with us on super short notice, and I appreciate you taking me up on this because I think I just asked you this yesterday or the day before or something like that. We have Boomer with us from Podcast in the Woods. Boomer, how are you doing?
I am doing excellent, my friend. Well, I am back again to try to do my best to ruin the show. As always, every time these wonderful gentlemen invite me on the show, it happens to be like I will record 10 episodes and everything's fine. And then all of a sudden I get invited to the Dewey Pod Monster show and my internet just shits the bed every time. I don't know what it is.
We're here to fuck things up and, record it for prosperity. It's been a couple months since we've had you on, Boomer. What are you even watching lately? I know you're more into new stuff than we are. Have you got anything good that you can spin or just terrible to tell us to avoid? I don't know anything that's new this year other than Ice Cube and Mithrigan.
Yeah, so I have watched Weapons recently, which is fantastic. I think if you are a horror fan, if you like Barbarian, I think you're going to love Weapons. I wasn't, and I know this may be controversial, and I don't mind that at all. I was not the biggest Barbarian fan in the world, but I really, really did.
I fucking hated
it. Good. Okay, so I'm in good company. But that one I thought was fantastic. I loved the mystery. I thought it was just really, really interesting. That they had a completely wacko bonkers ending, which I'm always a fan of. So that one was really good. My kids actually talked me into finally, and I watched it with them, K-pop Demon Hunters. And I know that one's been making the rounds. Hey, I don't give a shit. I love that fucking movie. I had so much fun with it. I may be losing my horror card as we go along, and the Podcast of the Woods is now canceled, but that is fine. I will die on that hill. K-pop Demon Hunters was so much fun. I had a blast. In fact, after the show tonight, I'm going to rewatch it as I make myself tacos. So there you go. And I think the last thing that I'll get into is you guys kind of turned me on to it, for better or for worse, is the Disney horror universe. I've been making my way through those, and oh my God, it's just kind of a big shit show. I watched the Mousetrap, the Popeye one, and what was the other one? Oh yeah, they're all bad. I don't even remember. The other one doesn't even matter. They all suck ass, and that's about it that I've got into this one.
Well, it's going to take a hell of a lot more than that to get your horror card revoked from us, because I've admitted to watching Barbie on this show as well as other garbage. So you're in good company. Don't worry about that. Before we switch gears and start talking about what we brought you on to talk about, Boomer, take a minute. The floor is yours. Tell everyone. I speak about Podcasts in the Woods as much as I can, but why don't you take a moment, tell people what you guys got going on, what's coming up, whatever you want to share about Podcasts in the Woods.
Sure. So Podcast in the Woods, as always, yes, I do that with my wonderful, beautiful, amazing co-host and wife, Gabby. It is all booze and horror. We don't really take things too seriously, except for when we hate something, which is a lot of fun because a lot of times I introduce Gabby to something that she hates. So yeah, you get to kind of hear her rant about every month, every couple of weeks about something that Boomer picked that really sucks ass and she's not on board for, which is a lot of fun. And yeah, so I like to torture her with stuff. I always say that she brings the good horror and I bring the schlock. But like the last few weeks, she has been away. She's been moving and all that stuff. So I've been on my own with different co-hosts. In the next episode, Scott coming on from the You Run podcast, and we are talking about Malignant. We ended up diving right into Malignant, and that was a lot of fun. So yeah, you can find us anywhere you get good podcasts, and also obviously at the You Run Podcast Network, which is yourunpodcast.com.
Speaking of Gabby, since I listened to your show, I have to ask, where does she, and she can call me out on this. I expect to hear a rant about this. How the hell are you going to like House of a Thousand Corpses and not Jaws?
I don't know. She has a very, I will say,
I mean, with all due respect, I mean,
yeah, I mean, it is what it is. She has very eclectic takes. And I get that. I am well known for some things that I like and I don't like. But yeah, I don't know how you cannot like Jaws, which is kind of just a universal good. But yeah, she hates that movie. So yeah, it's really weird.
well, I hope that you bring us a Gabby rant about why she doesn't like Jaws, because I'm befuddled by this. And I just heard it like a week ago. After, I think, 2 days bringing up, like, I have a bone to pick with your wife because she really appreciated this Rob Zombie movie and I don't get it. And I mean that all with, the most respect and admiration I can say that with. So let's switch gears here. We didn't bring Boomer on just to talk about Podcasts in the Woods, although I'd be glad to hear him talk about it all night. We brought him on to talk about a very specific film. This is a film that we're going to be showing this month at Batch Brewing for Franks and Steins. This was a request from an audience member, so we're glad to be able to talk about this movie and show it. We're going to be showing the movie Waxwork from 1988. So we start these with a third-party review. It was off mic, or it wasn't being recorded, but Sean reminded me that I suck at reading. So this review is very wordy. It says, quite frankly,
Yes.
silly and amateurish. 1 out of 5 stars. Submitted by Michael S. So Sean, in more than 3 words, can you tell us what Waxwork is about?
Well, I can't tell you what it's about, but I'll let IMDb do that for us. So we look up the title Waxwork. It brings us to a 1988 movie, as you mentioned before. This is rated R, and it's an hour and 35 minutes. It gets a 6.1 out of 10 with 15,000 reviews. And we go to the storyline of the plot. Never sure which one it is, but they wouldn't put it on top if it wasn't supposed to be read first. It says a wax museum owner uses his horror exhibits to unleash evil on the world. And if we scroll on down to, I guess, the storyline, this one comes care of constant contributor Ed Sutton. You can find him at esutton@mindspring.com. Thanks, Ed. He says a waxwork museum comes to town, and a mysterious man invites some teens to come to a special showing at midnight. Once inside, while viewing different exhibits, the scenes come alive and the viewer is sucked into the story being portrayed.
And Sean, I know there's like a million people in this movie, but do you want to try to take a bite off some of the cast? I mean, Elf is in this movie, for God's sake.
Yeah.
We have Elf in this movie. But aside from Elf, who else is in this film?
Well, we'll start with the director. This is Anthony Hickox, who also directed Waxworks 2. I always want to call it Waxworks. And I know it's Waxwork,
I do too.
but it just seems like it should be Waxworks.
I also want to add Electric Boogaloo to the end of every movie with the number 2 tacked on at the end of it.
Yeah, I'm kind of over that. But anyways, he did Hellraiser 3. He did Stormcatcher with Dolph Lundgren and Warlock the Armageddon. We've got in starring roles this time, not just the director. We have Zach Galligan, who plays Mark. He's probably best known for Gremlins 1 and 2, probably Waxwork 1 and 2, and Hatchet 3. At least that's what I noticed looking at his resume. We have Deborah Foreman, who plays Sarah. She was in Real Genius. She was in both versions of Valley Girl, April Fool's Day, Grizzly 2. We have Claire Carey, who we talked about in The Uninvited, but she's the daughter on Coach. You might know her from there. We have David Warner, who plays Waxwork Man, although I do think he has a name. He was Sark from Tron. He was in Titanic and The Mouth of Madness, Scream 2, and about 225 other things. And we've got John Rhys Davies, who plays the werewolf. He is Gimli from Lord of the Rings, Sala from Raiders of the Lost Ark, and he was on the Sliders TV show, amongst many other things. And then, of course, we have Mihaly Meseros, who played Alf. When Alf was in the suit, he wasn't the voice of Alf, just in the suit when he was walking around and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can kind of tell after I heard that he was Alf, I'm like, oh, I can kind of see it the way he wanders around this. I don't know if it's quite a mansion.
He's not a puppeteer, but
I think you were right, Sean, with your reading that this movie gets an hour and 35 minutes. So, hey, Waxwork, you're kind of wearing out your welcome. Wrap it up. You got an hour and 35. Do not go over that. Stop it.
We're going to come back to that. You might be surprised by what I have to say with that. Usually with these, I will throw this to the guests first. We're going to talk, get into it and talk about how we found this movie and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to go first on this one because there's a reason why I pulled Boomer off the couch on a Monday night to talk about this. This is one of those movies for me. Like, I remember seeing this, box in the movie store, God, fucking a million times. Like, it was on the bottom shelf, so it was within eyesight for the first my formidable years, and then eventually I just lost track of it.
You had to look down.
Yeah. I kind of forgot about this movie for 30 years until this show, Podcast in the Woods, covered it about a year or so ago, maybe a little bit more than that at this point, and totally reintroduced me to this movie. Now, granted, when I listened to you guys talk about it, I had no idea what the hell you were talking about, but I was like, this movie sounds bonkos enough that I need to go search this out and give this a try. Like, it's I think we all have those movies that, like, you've seen Sean talked about one a couple weeks ago when we did Alligator. Like, it's been looking at you for all these years, and it's just kind of, for whatever reason, fallen off the radar. And that's what this movie was for me. So we'll spin the mic around, and Boomer, how for you? I know, like I said, I know you just covered this about a year ago on your show, but how did you come into this movie?
Okay, so I will bow at the altar of Gabby. Now, I believe this is a film that I have seen. Now, I keep going back and forth on it, on whether I did see it a long time ago and when I was a kid and just forgot, or whether I never watched it, just kind of had seen scenes on YouTube or other horror reviews or something. I don't know. But Gabby wanted to cover this one, and so we ended up watching. And I remember certain beats of it, but the whole story and how crazy that this movie gets, I was kind of completely blown away with. And yeah, so this was, I will say, a relatively recent watch for me. She's the expert on that and on a lot of things, obviously. But yeah, this was a completely new experience when I first watched it. And yeah, as it's going along, I was just like, okay, I remember that. This is where we're going. This is okay. We're swashbuckling now. We have geriatrics fighting werewolves. Okay. So yeah, I will say that this is pretty much a recent, at least, reintroduction for me.
Definitely seems to be a theme here, at least so far. And then I also will, bow to Gabby's wisdom on this one, because, like I said, it fell off my radar completely. How about you, Sean? Did you have a history with this one, or is this a first time watch for you?
No, I think much like your story, it was seeing the box in the video store a lot and never watching it. I had a friend, Chris, who would quote the little guy, "Welcome to the Waxwork." And that's like the most I knew about this movie. Let's be 100%. That's the most I knew about it. It had something to do with wax figures, which I kind of find a little terrifying just in real life. So maybe that's why I avoided it for so long, but I had never seen it. It's just something I'd seen in the video store several hundreds of times.
That's where all the best movies are. They're all still sitting in video store shelves, just collecting dust and
all one of
waiting
them.
for us to find them on Tubi.
Hey folks, AI John here. If horror is the name of the game, Will and JT from the Deadbeats podcast have just what you're looking for. Each week, they dive into horror in its many forms, be it movies, books, TV shows, or even urban legends. Whether you're a die-hard horror buff or just enjoy a good laugh with your frights, this podcast promises both spooky insights and genuine camaraderie. You can find the Deadbeats podcast and many other fine shows at yourunpodcast.com.
So we usually move right into stuff that we like about the movie, and this is going to be no different. So we'll go to Boomer first on this one, guest of honor. What are some of the things you like about this movie, Boomer?
Okay, so this is one of the hardest movies, I think, to talk about, because there's not a whole lot that I like about it, and there's also like not a whole lot that I don't like about it. And I know we're gonna get into that as well. So the main thing that I like about this movie is just how campy and silly it is. And I will say I do like this movie, and it's just so much fun. And I will give you I can give you so many for instances on why this movie is like hilarious and fun. Like just going into the werewolf scene right off the bat. I love a werewolf. And we get this really cool scene of one of these kids. And the only people that I remember the names of is Mark and China, because China's said like 700 times in this movie, and Sarah and the Marquis de Sade, because it's just so fucking ridiculous. But this scene is so much fun. But the thing that gets me about it is like at the very end of it, when the kid gets shot, it's like the dad in quotations, puts him out of his misery because he starts turning into like a member of Led Zeppelin. Or like, it's also the most swashbucklingest horror movie that I've ever seen in my entire life. And I mean, we have Lord Voldemort, for lack of a better term. And his big plan is that he is going to appease the devil and live forever by releasing all these people which makes no sense, because at some point we get exposition that says that, all right, it's the worst souls that have ever lived in humanity or something. And we have a Phantom of the Opera, werewolves, vampires, like, what the fuck is going on here? And I'll let somebody else take it, because there's a lot of other things that I will get into about the ridiculousness of this that I absolutely love. But yeah, it's just so much campy fun.
I do love campy fun. How about you, Sean?
Well, I'll just give, much like Boomer, I think we share the opinion that there's not much that I really like about the movie. I will diverge and say there's a lot. Well, there's actually not that much I dislike either, but there's strong dislikes. And so there are dislikes. They're just very strong takes on some of these things. I do appreciate a movie that starts off with someone getting their head lit on fire. You shouldn't go wrong once you start your movie with someone's head getting shoved into a lit fireplace and it literally starting on fire.
Benny Goodman is playing.
Yeah. So, you know, that should be a hint that should be a good movie. So I guess the thing, if my little lightning round here of what I like, one of the things I'll mention that I liked was I appreciate that the movie is told in almost an anthology way, where each one of these set pieces of the Waxwork. So we didn't really mention it, but like these kids are walking down the street, this house that they've never noticed before, and a Waxwork sign is up, and a weird guy shows up on the outside. He's like, "Hey, do you like Waxwork?" To just get it out of the way, like I've never heard the term Waxwork before this movie. Like I didn't know Waxwork was a wax museum. I just thought it was a wax museum. He invites them, bring some friends, have a party at this Waxwork, at this wax museum. So they get all these friends together and they go to this place. Each one of these set pieces, each one of these Waxworks are like roped off behind a velvet rope, or really just a red string. And when you cross over into that red string, you get teleported into these scenes. And the first two characters that cross the line get pulled into these little kind of just short horror scenes, like little skits or whatever that they're in. And I like the anthology approach, where it's almost like it's a movie inside of a movie. They do explore it a few times. I think they only go into four people's real like side stories or these things. And one of them is Zach Galligan crossing into, it's like a zombie movie. It's black and white. It's really grainy. It looks like a 60s zombie movie, basically Night of the Living Dead or something along those lines. I really enjoyed that one. I thought that was probably the best done of those vignettes. I guess that's what it is. Those little anthology vignette stories. It looked really, really good. It was really well done. I really enjoyed seeing that part and seeing it look different than really all the other things that went on, all those other little vignettes in the movie. That one stood out as being the most, not out of place, but the most like, it was just more outstanding than the others. So I really enjoyed that part of it.
So I'm right there with you on the Night of the Living Dead throwback scene. That part's pretty entertaining. And like both of you mentioned, this anthology approach that they give this movie, I want to like it, but I have opinions about it, which will come up later. There are a lot of moments in this movie that I found to be extremely entertaining. Anything involving the werewolf is great. I absolutely love the scene where he does the shoulder brush after getting hit with a chair. Like that's, I know it's kind of cheesy and kind of stupid, but it's also kind of like, for this kind of movie, just fucking gold at the same time. I had a lot of fun with that. I just wish we would have got a lot more werewolf in it than what we do, because it feels like he's there and gone so quick. But that, anything that goes on with the werewolf and any practical effects with him, big fan of. The effects are another thing that I'm kind of mixed on, but when they go for it with the practical effects, I really enjoy it, especially when we get to, so one of the vignettes in this anthology series, which I'm going to call this anthology series for quite a few times because I don't know what else to call it. I really enjoyed when the vampire scene kind of took off. Like the dinner part's kind of long and drawn out. It feels like they're trying to build tension, I guess, which I don't know that it worked. But when they get to this like white room where this dude is just like tied down to a table and his legs mostly eaten, and you kind of see where this is starting to go, just the way they ratchet things up from there. There's things that are really fun in there, and there's also things that are really bad within that scene. But when the blood starts to fly in that scene, it really achieves. I don't know how I feel about the champagne bottle impalement. I thought that was a little tacky, but also kind of funny at the same time. But just the amount of blood that comes out of these vampires is entertaining enough to give my complaints about the scene a pass. And past that, like, the other thing that I found to be pretty entertaining is just a lot of like, oh, there goes that guy. Like, oh, there goes Elf. There goes, Gimli. There goes all these. There goes the guy from Secret of the Ooze again. Why is he dressed up like Willy Wonka? Like all these types of things that you're taking however many years of pop culture like reference you have. They're all kind of like just crammed in there with no Vaseline, just pushed in and rubbing against each other in the most like dingus loving way that they possibly could be. So I like that because it does kind of keep you guessing. Now, where the movie kind of turns is kind of where the negatives come in. I'll start us off on this too, because it's just what I'm going to do. With the vampire scene specifically, what I noticed, although they can do a good job spilling a shit ton of blood all over the place, they're really, really bad at making it look like someone got impaled with anything in this fucking movie. Anytime, whether it's a sword, a knife, a stake, whatever, if something's going to enter another person in a violent way, not in a sexual way, which I don't think there's any sexual stuff like that in this anyway, it's very like they go like stabbing at whatever they're going to stab in very slow motion. They cut off screen for a moment to like a face going, ugh! And then they cut back to showing something that looks like it's just held in with like masking tape and blood. And that part annoys me. It's like, you do so good with some of the practical effects. Why are you half-assing these practical effects? And kind of, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but that kind of threw me off. The other thing that I found to be a big negative with this is all these anthology pieces, although I think they all have their merits and they all have cool moments in them, they all feel very half-baked and like we didn't get enough of any one of them in particular. And I have an idea of where this could have gone that would have been ideally a better option, but I think that's the biggest thing is there's so much shit going on in this movie that it's hard to really kind of, I don't want to say it's hard to follow the plot, because honestly, there's not enough of a plot to follow. It just feels like you're going from one crazy like scene of all this shit happening to the next crazy scene of all this shit happening with the guy from Gremlins holding it together like a little bit of super glue. But maybe I'm wrong. Boomer, what do you think?
Well,
where does this movie fall
Boomer
flat?
have any other likes?
Or
Because you
Sean?
just kind of like usurped the conversation into dislikes. So
You're right, I did.
yeah.
I know.
So Boomer, if you have any likes,
Yeah, I don't
Lay
mind
'em on
going
us.
back into like likes, dislikes, because like I said, for this one, it's a little bit interchangeable. So you mentioned the vampires and how they kind of like off screen all of their injuries and all that. And that's why like this is a whole lot of just silly fun to me, because I know you guys remember when we were 4 or 5 years old and we were playing sword fighting and all that shit, and you would just grab like whatever it is, your stick, and then stick it in your underarm and just kind of do that. I mean, that's
Yeah.
really what those scenes kind of reminded me of. All of the waxworks that we get in this are actors for the most part. And that's something else that I love, because you get introduced to all these different characters and the Waxwork in general. And every single one of them is just trying to hold their poses, but you can kind of see them like shaking and everything. And it just makes me crack up. And I mean, I also wanted to touch on, like, just real quick, and we get into dislikes if y'all want, but Sean mentioned the introduction that we have to the curator of this wax museum. And it's just hilarious to me because he shows up and he's just dressed like Willy Wonka for no reason at all. And I kind of get the tone that they were going for this. I mean, this does feel like Gremlins, or it feels like the Monster Squad, or all those kind of horror movies that we got in the 80s that really weren't taking themselves that seriously. But
it's like Bill and Ted, but a horror movie.
Exactly. But the thing that gets me in that scene is not him showing up in the Willy Wonka costume, although I think that's hilarious. But whenever they turn back and he just like Batmans his way away and disappears, like, just cracks me up every single time.
I like using the word Batman as a verb. Sean, do you have any other things you want to talk about that you like or dislike? Whatever. I don't want to usurp the conversation as you.
Well,
so
I mean, I don't have a whole lot of other likes, so I just wanted to let Boomer get his like in there because I felt like he had more. I will mention the scene in near the ending. Sorry if I spoil this for a 45-year-old, I don't know, 35-year-old movie, 37-year-old movie, whatever. When all the figures at the end of the movie, all the figures start to come back to life, and there's like this little baby that gets like kicked or thrown or something into this wall sconce, and then it gets shot, and then one of the Dracula turns into a bat, and he's flying, and somebody grabs him and just puts a gun to its head, blows its head off. It's like, This is perfect. This is exactly how I want this movie to end, because I was very looking forward to the end. I do want to, so I'll transition into my dislikes if nobody has any objections. You mentioned special effects, and I'm right there with you. Sometimes they look middling to okay to like really bad. For me, I can't stand, I don't know. I don't, not that I can't stand, like, I don't like the way that some of the characters look. I especially don't like, there's one guy that's just like this nondescript Frankenstein's monster looking thing that's in the background. Like Boomer said, they're like shaking, trying to hold their pose. Like, oh, the lights are hot.
He is supposed to be Frankenstein.
Is that what he's supposed to be? It's like the saddest. Yeah. Some of the makeup is just the saddest makeup that you've ever seen. I don't even like I'm sorry, not the vampire. I don't even like the Wolfman. I think it looks really just basically like a frozen cast with like holes for the eyes, the mouth that they can move behind. Like, it doesn't really move that much at all. I feel like that vampire scene, the Dracula scene where they're eating, they're just like smushing the food or the meat or whatever it is between their teeth, so it like falls out of their mouths as they're eating it. Like, really? You can't like even pretend like you're enjoying this at all? Like, I don't know. I did not like the scene with the guy laying on the table with the leg meat just hanging off. It's like, I don't think you'd feel that much pain if your entire lower part of your leg is torn off.
But then she belly flops on it.
Yeah. So yeah, and he's screaming about it. It's like, that's not really going to hurt. The bottom of your foot's not going to be ticklish because there's no fucking nerves connecting to the rest of your body. It's just some bones sticking out. So yeah, I don't know. I just had a lot of nitpicks with some of the special effects, but I did enjoy the baby getting shot, and I want to be on the record for the bat getting its head blown off too. That was very entertaining.
You got to clip that line right there. I did enjoy the baby being shot. Like, that needs to reappear at some point.
I have other dislikes, but I'll let somebody else speak, and then I'll follow up with them, because I know that we have probably a lot of those to go around.
I mean, it's kind of a hard movie because, Boomer said it. It's one of those, for every good thing you find, there's almost a bad thing you can find to kind of piggyback on it. It's a real split down the middle type affair. I don't really want to just like take the shit out of it because I don't feel like it's that bad of a movie. I do think this movie, though, would be so much better. I mean, this came out in the late 80s. I feel like if this had gotten picked up as like a Tales from the Crypt spinoff, or like its own anthology series where we got a half hour with these characters every week and let them kind of go a little bit deeper with them, I feel like that would have worked so much more interesting. And this really, I mean, they tell you there's 18 evil entities in this house in the movie. And I know from some of the like notes on it, like they wanted to get, you know, Jason Voorhees in there, and they wanted to get all these other characters in there, like the alien from The Thing and whatnot, which I guess would have been cool. But
what's going to be
I
there?
feel
The
like
dog
this,
with all the tentacles coming out of it and shit? Like, what is the alien from The Thing?
exactly. I don't know. But I feel like even if they could have just found a way to make these, crack down on writing these stories, kind of flesh them out a little bit more, maybe make me give a shit about these characters. Because really, even Gremlins dude, like I really did not care what happened to him at any point in this movie. Like giving us a little bit more story to kind of like explain why all, not necessarily why all this shit is happening. They tell you why it's happening. It's just not overly interesting. It's very generic. I feel like that's kind of the biggest like thing that this movie misses, is it's just so chaotic and has so much going on that you never really get to sink your teeth into any one particular story and really find something cool in it. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
I can't buy Zach Galligan as a leading man in anything. Like Gremlin's fine. He's playing a kid. He plays a kid well. But then I don't know. I found this trivia thing about it, and I just wanted to read it because I'm like laughing as you're talking as I'm reading this. So it says, Galligan hated that Hickox made him tuck in his shirt for the scene where his character leads the police into the wax museum. He recalls catching the movie on USA's Up All Night once and hearing host Gilbert Gottfried say, "We'll be right back with Waxwork starring Zach Galligan after 40 cheeseburgers." He just looks, it's a bad look, tucking in the shirt. Sorry. After 40 cheeseburgers is the end of the quote. But yeah, I just found that hilarious. I can't buy Galligan as menacing or like a leading romantic role. Not that he's not good. Well, he's not good.
Nah.
He's not horrible, but he's definitely not good in this, at least. Maybe he's better in Waxwork too. I don't know.
Seriously doubt it.
Yeah. I mean, the weird thing with this is, to me, like my main dislike is, and I know I said like I love campy fun, and I do, but the tone of this movie is just it's so weird, and the story is, and we've all touched on it, but the story is just so bonkers and doesn't really make sense. But also, like, there's just so much stuff that they shove into this movie. And yeah, we have like the horror anthology thing. We have the big fight at the end, and I'll get into that because that is another one of my dislikes. But it's the messaging and the story of this film is so strange. Like, so Mark, who is Zach Galligan's character in this movie, whatever his name is.
I've wanted to say Galifianakis like 20 times. It's not him.
Okay, I keep trying to say that. Yeah. So apparently, like the messaging of this story is be afraid of sexually liberated women, because we spend like that whole first part of the movie with him, and he's like pissed off, even though he doesn't really like China. I'm assuming because there's this weird dynamic between the two. And he's so jealous every time that she has another conquest. And then that ends. And then all of a sudden now he's into Sarah. And then Sarah's like, you know what? I kind of like to be spanked a little bit. And he's not about that either. And it's just, it's that whole plot line is just so strange. And I'm interested to know what you guys thought about the whole Marquis de Sade thing, because like that whole thing was just so weird to me, and all the fucking horse metaphors that we got. Like I've got a fine stable of fillies and you have to break them in before you ride them. I mean, right now they're showpieces, but you know, you do the right things, so whip them enough times and they really become some good breeders. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what are we doing? What the hell is happening to this?
It's very
I'll be
weird.
honest with you. That whole scene with the whole whip, I was bored. I was literally watching that scene. I'm like, I understand what they're doing. I know it's the whole whatever. I literally, at that point, we had just seen a werewolf rip a dude in half. We'd seen all this crazy vampire shit. And I think that's after the mummy scene too, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Which again, the mummy scene, why didn't we get another like 5 minutes? Like, take away some of this other shit. Give me 5 more minutes of the mummy being like, I've never seen a mummy be cool. I was like, oh, here comes a mummy. I'm gonna be fucking bored, and this is gonna suck. He's just gonna lurch around and be like, ugh. He like crushes a couple skulls. I was like, all right, well, it's kind of cool, mummy, I guess.
I've never seen a mummy be cool before. Be cool, mummy.
But yeah, by the time we got to him like beating her into submission or whatever, I was just like, leave it to a movie like this to somehow make this concept fucking boring, because it's had all this other shit going on. And again, we haven't even got to the end of this movie yet. I just found it like, all right, let's fucking either kill her or don't. I don't really care. Let's move on to the next, whatever the next, it's not the next room, but the next like part of this. And that, like, can we get the
next vignette?
Can we get the dude the monster from the lake or something like that? Something other. I think the zombies came right after this. So that cheered me up. Maybe I'm getting the order wrong. I've only watched this once.
The Marquis de Sade piece is like such a weird, it's not even so much that she likes to be whipped. It's like they find this whole side story about how Zach Galifianakis's grandpa was like, you know, Ludwig von Helsing or whoever, and he has all these weird shits up in his attic, and he happens to have a book by Marquis de Sade, and Sarah opens the book and she's like entranced by the book, and that so happens, you know, because one of the 18 people you'll meet in hell are in the Waxwork. Are you pulling your truck horn there? What's going on?
It's the horse cock back there.
Oh, you're not doing one of these. Where was I? Oh, so it just seems so out of character when she's getting whipped to death, basically, and then, well, whipped to orgasm at the very least, and then she doesn't want to leave. It's like, that's cool. Like, that's fine, but where did this come from? There's no inkling that any, you know, you read in the trivia stuff in IMDb that Anthony Hickox wrote the screenplay, because he directed and wrote it, in 3 days, and it makes total sense because it seems very slapdash. Just, hey, I have a really cool idea. What if we use licensed characters that we will in no fucking way get the rights to use, and we'll film these things, but then we won't use those, and we'll just have somebody looking at we'll have them looking off screen because we can't show you the thing that we actually filmed for this. I don't know. It was just, it's just a weird movie. It's kind of just meandering, much like me talking right now. Meandering from thing to thing to, it's like the thing we talk about where it's like, well, I've heard a movie has to be an hour and a half, so let's make this an hour and a half by doing these things to fill in the hour and a half.
So speaking of how long things need to be, we've danced around it. Let's talk about the big finale in this movie, because it's fucking bonkers. Boomer, I'm gonna let you lead off on this. Tell us about the end of this movie.
Okay, so this is my main dislike of the movie, and I understand that Mart's grandpa is Ludwig von Helsing, whoever.
I don't know
the
if
guy
he
in the
is,
like
but
wheelchair.
yeah. He just likes
he's
to
a
collect
wheelchair
bunch of
tank
shit.
guy, right?
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
his friend. Yeah.
Whoever it is, I mean, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But the thing that gets me is I understand the tone that you're going through. Now, I wish the tone was a little bit more serious. Like I am fully behind being slapstick and funny and having parts that make no sense, but it's just so boring. And the reason is because you have all these senior citizens who ride into the rescue, and that is not what I want to see. If you're going to have all these iconic horror characters, I don't want to see them battling the people from the nursing home. There's actually a part in here where,
when you say it that way, it sounds so much more entertaining than what we got.
They got the extras from the senior living next door to the house.
The crazy thing is there's actually a part when Wheels says something about how if we let any one of these entities out, that they're going to corrupt the entire world. And then you have like all the geriatrics just like poking them to death and shooting a couple. So it's like, what are the stakes here? Like, are these bad guys like really that bad if they're being able to be killed by the people that are killing them all throughout the ending of this thing? I don't get it. And I mean, you guys talked about how you liked the Night of the Living Dead thing, and I'm going to talk about tone because here we go. Like, I like the Night of the Living Dead. reference. But when they come out of the no. Is it the Night of the Living Dead or is it the Marquis de Sade? I can't remember now. Now my memory's all screwed up. But whenever they come,
I think it was Marquis de Sade, then Night of the Living Dead.
Okay,
but I could be wrong.
So Sarah and Mark both come out, and Mark is on his fucking high horse because he is throughout this entire thing. I mean, he's just this rich prick who is not in touch with anything. But he gets out, and Lord Voldemort and his henchman Lurch, that has to be a reference to Lurch. It really does. Is standing there.
I assumed. I thought it was for like 20 seconds until I got a better look at him.
But they come out there, and Mark's just like, yeah, we foiled your plan, didn't we? And then they just like cover their mouths, and in this like weird little slapstick moment, and the Lord Voldemort is like, actually, we have a backup plan, which leads into the finale. And yeah, we needed some darkness in this movie. And that's that. I'll let y'all talk. I know I've been talking a little bit, but yeah, the tone of this movie, I'm not on board for. I love the campiness. I do. I love the campiness. I just wish we got a little bit of grounded reality and darkness, because yeah, the finale of this movie is insane. And I do have more to say, because we haven't even got to the sword fights yet. So I'll get into those, but yeah, I'll let somebody else take the wheel on that.
All right. Well, my part on the finale is pretty quick, so I'll say my piece, and then you guys can duke it out for whatever you want to say from there. My thing about the finale that I don't like, because I think, Sean mentioned it, like the baby part and the bat part. There's some, I think the clip where the wheelchair guy gets his is kind of entertaining. There's some things in there that's like these little 2 to 5 second bits that are pretty entertaining. But the thing that I don't like about it is it feels very much so like the director said, oh shit, we're at an hour and 20 minutes. We got to wrap this thing up real fucking quick. How do we do that? And they literally took like a dog turd, threw it at the wall, and this is what stuck. And that's kind of what it feels like, is the most like, it's like Kevin Smith was like, I don't know, and took a drag and said, let's just have them all do like a WWF fight in this house with guns and all this type of shit. So that's the only thing I don't like. I mean, the movie is kind of disjointed from a narrative standpoint to begin with, but for what could have been an easy, like, we just close the door and then we go to Waxwork 2, instead we have this big, like, brawl at the end of the movie that just feels very hodgepodged and, like, thrown together without any real direction, or I don't know if I don't want to go as far as to say there's no reason that it happens, but it doesn't feel like it pays off for all the chaos that ensues in this like 5-minute stretch of insanity.
Senior Brawlamania.
Yeah.
Yeah, brother, you think that you have what it takes? You've got the forces of hell on your side, but I've got Old Man Winter and the kid from Gremlins, and we're going in this battle royale, and we're going to put you 6 feet under.
I won't rehash anything because I feel like what's the finale's, what needs to be said has been said. It's not good. And Boomer, I totally agree. If this movie, it feels like this movie is like they're marketing it towards a kid's movie, like a kid's horror type movie, but with as much swearing as they want to do, with as much like, I don't know, pseudo violence or something. If there was, because all the killings seem like they're done off screen, or they're just dummy heads that get smushed, paper mache heads that get stomped on or whatever. It feels like if they would have went for a more darker tone, even with all the shortcomings, with all the gaps and like, what's going on? What the hell are we talking about? What does this go? How does this connect to anything? Why is this happening? If it was just a little bit darker and it was a little bit more sinister, it would have paid off so much better to have a totally disjointed story. It could have been like actually scary rather than being like, I don't know, in my opinion, a little bit ho-hum, where you're just like waiting to see what the next thing is that's going to happen, you know?
Tell us about the pirates.
Okay.
I don't want to deny you your pirate rant.
All right, here we go. So pirate rant. All right. So I talked about this being the most swashbucklingest horror movie that has ever been made. And I don't know, maybe somebody can correct me on that if there's something else out there. But like that whole last,
I mean, Uninvited exists. There's a pirate cat.
that is true. That is true. Okay. All right, I stand corrected. This is the second most swashbucklingest horror movie that has ever been made. And okay, there's so many different choices, and I did not know that trivia that this was made in like 3 days or written in 3 days makes complete sense because there are so many things and plot holes that don't make any kind of logic whatsoever. And that ending fight scene is another one. Now, Mark is this entitled, rich character who comes from a wealthy family. We could have shown him at some point that he's in like the fencing club or something like that, like a little throwaway thing that explains why he's able to hold his own with the Marquis de Sade. But I don't care. I mean, I'm not a tough guy, but I probably could have kicked his ass as well. So okay, that is what it is. But that last fight just goes on forever. It just seems like forever because the Marquis gets the upper hand and then he gives him his sword back. Then he gets the upper hand and gives him his sword back. I'm like, just stab the fucker. Like, why are we doing this same BS that I've seen so many times? Like the bad guy lets the good guy off the hook. Like it could have been, they could have done that in so many other entertaining ways. Like if you want to be slapstick, you want to be funny, then just have like the Marquis de Sade do that thing like in Indiana Jones where he like takes a sword and he's like, and then Billy just takes out a gun and shoots him in the chest. It would have been so much better.
I agree. I'm all for the Indiana Jones like gun to a sword fight scene. I'm not even a huge Indiana Jones fan, but that's one of my favorite sword fight scenes in the history of sword fights. So I agree with you. I don't really have a lot to add. I've kind of covered most of my big points. Does anyone else have good, bad, or indifferent? Anyone else have anything they want to tack on before we fire up a grill?
The last thing I'll say is the Scooby-Doo-ness of people like the bad guys popping up for convenience's sake to scare the good guy, the protagonist, it's like at max level in this movie. Like the David Warner coming and disappearing, the Lurch and little man showing up and like grabbing him, like, oh, we're gonna cover your mouth. Ooh. I don't know. It happens a lot. It takes a lot of the scare factor out of it.
I think you can do the Scooby-Doo thing so much better. Like we talked about it with Scream, how there's so many scenes where they're like running away and they like fall over a couch comedically or something. Like you can do Scooby-Doo comedy in a horror movie and make it be really good. This movie doesn't do it.
Then you're in for a big treat, bro, because it's hot dog time.
So Boomer, you're the guest. You get to bat lead off for us. And again, thank you for coming on short notice, but go ahead, unload whatever you want to say, swashbuckle, werewolf rip, shoot babies, whatever you got to do, let it go.
All right. So I do like this movie as much as I've shit on this from a great height, and I will from a technical aspect. This is not what you would call a good movie or even a good horror movie. I fully stand behind that, but I do think it is one that you probably should see. I'm going to give this half a hot dog. I do believe this is one that you should watch. It's probably not one that you're going to be coming back to, but if you're high as shit or drunk, this is a good movie to watch. It's really, really ridiculous. And the other scene that I will touch on in my final thoughts is that vampire scene, because I love it when they're having the dinner party. And I know it's just filler and it goes on too long, but when she asks, oh, I like steak tartare, is the steak tartare, whatever, however she says it. And the bad guy or the vampire is just kind of like, yeah, steak tartare. That's what it is. There's so many things in this movie that are just so silly that crack me up. And I have a good time with it every time I watch it. So half hot dog for me. I do enjoy it.
Whose hot dog is this? Huh? Is it yours?
Sean, you want to go or you want me to go?
I'll go. Counterpoint to Boomer. It's not that the movie's bad per se. It's just that I didn't find anything compelling about it at all. It's kind of just there. Zach Galligan has the most, he has like negative charisma. He like sucks charisma away from the audience, and he doesn't do anything that makes me have any kind of interest in what happens to his character. The special effects, the sets, everything looks really cheap. And despite the werewolf tearing somebody's head out apart, like splitting him in two, and the mummy stepping on somebody's head and crushing it, and multiple heads getting torn off or busted or whatever. That couldn't save it for me. There's some movies that draw you in and they keep you watching and you don't want them to end. They're so compelling. And this is the kind of movie that I would let play in the background. But if someone came into my house and they pulled the plug on my TV, I probably wouldn't care and I probably wouldn't notice, because it's just, I have such a total apathetic feeling towards this movie. It's not that, like I said, it's not that it's bad. It's just that nothing happens of any consequence that to me is interesting at all. I got to go with no hot dogs. Sorry, Waxworks, you lose. Good day, sir.
Utah, give me 2 hot dogs.
So this movie is currently sitting at 6 out of 10 on IMDb, and I'm sure this episode will do nothing to move that needle one way or the other. But I feel like that's about as accurate a rating as this movie can get. I mean, the movie struggles with a lot of a what the fuck is going on problem. Sometimes it has moments where it's fun, and it has a lot of moments where it's not, but it still has things like werewolves, vampires, and absolutely insane fight scenes to kind of keep you just interested enough to not turn it off. Is it good? It's okay. I mean, I'm not mad that I watched this movie. And I do appreciate that Boomer, you and Gabby put this back on my radar, because it's just wacky enough that I felt like if you like the kind of crap that we talk about on this show, and arguably the kind of crap that they talk about on Podcasts in the Woods, I don't want to go as far to say this is required viewing, because it's not, but it's definitely the kind of movie that if you like crap, you might want to at least give this a try, because there's enough there to kind of sink your teeth in. It's a half a hot dog, and outside of when we show it at Franks and Signs, I don't know if I'm going to watch it again. So
I want to add on that the end song in this movie is "It's My Party and I'll Cry If I Want to," which makes no fucking sense. I hate the song
at all.
And it makes no sense that it's in this movie at all.
Which really sucks, because there's a lot of really entertaining musical cues in this. Like, again, we mentioned Benny Goodman to start the movie with him having the dude's fucking head thrown in the fireplace. And just some of the, like, there's one of the notes I have, and I don't even remember what song it is. I think it's just scoring. I wrote sword fighting music. So God knows what point in the movie that came up, but it must have entertained me enough to write. Yeah, must have entertained me enough for the musical cue. But yeah, it is a very obnoxious song to end with that does not make any sense for this at all.
And I do feel like the movie had, I don't know why I'm defending my thought here. It feels like the beginning of the movie, like watching it the first time, it felt like there was a lot of promise. Like I said, the guy's head gets lit on fire at the very beginning. We have the werewolf vignette, like right off the get. And then what's the next one after that?
Vampires, I think.
Is it? Yeah, it is. You're right. So, and that, yeah, I don't like the guy that played Dracula. He seemed like a little wooden, or I don't know, not good.
Kind of how I feel about, like, when I watched this movie on Saturday or whatever night it was, I left it feeling like, all right, I'm not mad about this. This is fine. Like, I didn't ever feel like some movies that we watch, oh my God, I need to fucking turn this off and just move on. Like, I didn't feel that at any point.
Yeah, same.
But the further away I get from it, and the more that I've thought about it, which is really only for this, like, if we weren't talking about this for this particular podcast, I wouldn't be thinking about it 2 days after the fact. I would have moved on and watched some other piece of garbage, like whatever's playing behind me, and, you know, had no real concern. Because we're actually taking the time to have a hour-long conversation about this movie, the further away I get from it, the more we're picking it apart, the more I'm like, maybe that was a piece of shit. But I'm still not mad that I watched it. So
yeah, it wasn't so offensively bad that I turned it off. But like I said, it just didn't really hold a lot of attention. If somebody broke in the house and they pulled the plug while I was watching it, I wouldn't be mad.
I like how you're not even mad that someone broke in your house. You're
like,
just,
yeah, fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm going to punish you by making you watch Waxwork. No, I'm kidding. It's not that bad. I did not feel at any point did I want to turn it off. So it gets that.
No hot dogs, but we don't want to turn it off.
I didn't actively want to turn it off.
So I think that's all we got for this week. I want to reiterate, this is a movie we're going to be showing for Franks and Signs at Batch Brewing in Corktown, Detroit. There will be posts up about that with dates and times and all that good stuff. But if you would like to come watch this movie with us, Boomer, you're more than welcome to join us if you can catch a flight to Detroit. We'd be glad to have you. I have a bed, I have a couch. You can sleep on either one that you want. There's a ton of bourbon here. You'd be fine. Please come hang out with us. It will be a good time. We'll make fun of all the crazy shit that we just talked about. But before we get into all our stuff outside of Frankenstein's, Boomer, take all the time you want. Plug your show again. Plug whatever you want to plug. Tell us all about Podcasts in the Woods and whatever you would like to refer people to. It will all be linked in the show notes, but you can sell it better than I can.
Sure. So, I mean, everybody knows I love plugging myself, so I'll do it one more time for the cameras. So you can follow us both on Blue Sky or Instagram at Woods Podcast 1. You can email our show at podcastinthewoods1@gmail.com. And I always love your emails. People send us the craziest shit along with suggestions and all that stuff. And I absolutely read every single one of those. So keep those coming in. And yeah, you can find our show, Podcast in the Woods, anywhere that you get great podcasts. That's about it.
And for us, you can find us at all the usual spots. We're on social media at Dewey Podmonster, or in the case of Blue Sky, we are at crap.town. You can go to our site, which is crap.town. You can leave us feedback there to send us messages, tell us what movies you want to subject us to. If you maybe want to suggest a movie for Frankenstein's, like Waxwork, that's how this episode came into be, is someone asked us to watch Waxwork and show it. Almost said Waxworks again. You can send us messages. That's what it's there for. Please do take the time to head over to yourunpodcast.com. Again, we are proud network members of the You Run Podcast Network, as is Boomer and Podcast in the Woods. There are, it seems like, endless great shows there, and there's more every day. So when you're there, if you're checking us out, if you're checking out Podcast in the Woods, check out someone new that you haven't seen before. There's a lot of great stuff there where people spend a lot of time making content just for you. Don't be a dick and ignore them. Sean, what am I forgetting?
So sometimes we have a question of the week, and if you want to have it read on this here show, your answer to that question of the week, you can respond to us at Dewey Podmonster on all the social medias except for Blue Sky, where John posts under the moniker of crap.town. If you want to check out any of the things that we talked about, any of the things Boomer talked about, we'll leave it in the show notes, link to where you can watch that. If you can watch it for free, we'll try and do that. If you can't, it might say Amazon next to it. If it says Amazon next to it, that is an affiliate link. And if you click those links and you buy some stuff, we get a couple dollars, or maybe actually if you buy like 1 million of those, we might get a couple dollars, but usually we'll get like like a mil of a cent. So do that. If you want to follow me on social media, I don't know why you'd want to, but you can. I'm on Blue Sky exclusively. I am at internalbleeding.crap.town. I post silly little clips of silly little movies that I silly enjoy. John, back to you.
So that's it. That's all we got this week. Again, Boomer, thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you here. We'll get you back sooner than later, I'm sure. Or we'll go the other way. I don't know. We'll see what happens next, but we'll chat soon. For everyone else, thanks for joining us. Have a great week, and cheers.
Bird season's over, Butthorn.
Blah, blah, blah.